At that summit, in your opening speech, you said that in about 15 to 17 years, any country exporting crude the way it's currently being done, it will be shameful for that country. Yes. What did you mean by that?
Because everybody's looking at a way of adding value. It's like selling agricultural products in their raw forms. As you get a price, it's price A. Then you sell it in a refined form, it's price B. And the truth is that, one, the markets are diminishing. So increasingly, and you made a comment when we started about difficulty of selling Nigerian crude. The markets are reducing, markets are diminishing. People are firming up markets because of the uncertainties of this market. So if you continue on the bulwark of, one, increasing your production, I mean, our drive is to go to 3 million barrels. And if all you do is every year just sell those 3 million barrels in the market, it's not good enough. What oil companies do usually is they take their own share through PSC, through JV, and they ship it back to their refineries, and they refine, and they put it to the market. Crude oil is nothing unless it is refined, ultimately. And I'm saying that there's a need for us to begin to have a policy that refines that product here. It supplies local market. We can look at the African market to focus on it. And when we first started in this industry, we were exporting products. We were exporting SSPMS, SSCGO, SSKERO. We need to get back to this. The more refining you do, the better. Also, the margin limits are better when they're refined. 3, you are not subject to the vicissitudes of the market. 4, you're bringing in investments in infrastructure that creates work. So I am saying that any country that isn't looking at that, and every country that I know in OPEC, that's serious in OPEC, all the Gulf countries, that's the direction. In case of people like Saudi Arabia and the rest, what they did was that they basically bought into refineries in the US and Europe. And so when they export, they send this product largely to those refineries where they have interest. So if there are market disequilibriums, they're able to deal with those sort of situations because they have internal ways of basically refining their product. And I think that Nigeria should be heading towards that direction.
You just mentioned OPEC, and a couple of days there'll be a meeting of the OPEC. What's Nigeria taking out there?
Well, we've done well. If you remember, I resumed as minister, also as president of OPEC almost immediately, because I took over the unbalanced portion of Dizani's term as president of OPEC. And one of the things, at the time I went in, price of oil was, I think, hitting about $28 a barrel. And one of the things that I tried to do was get the 2 main combatant countries, Iran and Saudi Arabia, to come together and fix off what was the position then of, look, let me produce out the market. Let me stifle shale. And I said, shale will never die. The technology will continue to improve, and the price of production will continue to go down, which is what has happened. But the benefit OPEC brings to the table is, one, its unity of purpose, even though it's only controls 30% of the market, but because the countries as a bulk is able to make an impact. And 2, being the least cost producers, and we need to leverage on those. Thankfully, working with Saudi Arabia, working with UAE, they agreed with me, and we had that change. Once we changed that and entered into the agreements, then we looked out to Russia and the rest of non-OPEC producers, and that's what has happened. Nigeria benefited from that in terms of pricing movement. It also benefited from that we got exemption. From all the caps that were put, we fought through it, we got exemptions. Every increase that has given us exemptions up till date. So Nigeria has benefited from that. Now, what will Nigeria benefit from OPEC as we go forward? There are quibbles already about whether or not we're going to continue to put a lead on that production because of the way prices have gone. I think in our best estimates, we had targeted anywhere between $60 and $65 a barrel has been the price at which we think as OPEC members we should be comfortable. Then all kinds of international issues, like they usually do, have taken it back to the ranges of between 75 and 80. I think they probably will oscillate between that 73 and 78 over the rest of the year. In that sort of environment, there's a temptation to do something quickly, remove the lead on production, so people can now produce. I will caution against that. I'm not very supportive of that because it's too early, it is untested, and just last week showed the vulnerability of this market. We were at 81, and now we're about 75. Indicators are like we're likely to go close to 74. So this market keeps moving. Now, if you begin to change policies just over 2, 3 weekly basis, on the basis of what is happening internationally, you've got to be very careful. That's why we carefully set only 2 meetings for OPEC ministers, one in June and one in December. It was done deliberately so that you wouldn't be tempted to act in between unless there's an extraordinary situation.
Just wondering then, it's a good thing the price of oil has gone up. It's paid us in some way, and also we've been able to maintain some level of production that we have targeted, especially in the budget. But then the situation in the Niger Delta remains very fragile. I mean, the peace there remains very fragile. Right now, it seems that there is some stability of some sort. But then some people will say that what are we doing to consolidate, to ensure that we're able to make progress, especially with the agitations of people from that region?
That Niger Delta is something that I've worked through. I think my 3 years as minister has taken quite a huge amount of my time. Getting to the, what you might call relative stability that you have. And I thank all those who've worked with me, whether it's Pandef, whether it's the militants, everybody who's put hands to try and put sanity there. But you're right, the work continues. I'm still doing tours into the Niger Delta. We're still setting up state-based analysis teams to see how we can localize some of the benefits and some of the concern issues. Because I think dealing with these things on Nigerian global basis, I think is part of the fundamental problem. I said to one of the governors that if I come to your state, you likely know who the militants are more than I do. Because you deal with them, whether it's as political help hands in elections, or because you know there are some people who are causing trouble somewhere, there are some influence leaders in some of these localities, there are people who have a sway. And to the extent that we can move things like amnesty, we can move things like in participation of oil companies into these local environments, it will work. We've tried experimenting with 2 or 3 companies in terms of saying to them, take charge using local hands on safeguarding your assets. It worked.